Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'll do a tag video. This will be my second ever tag, I think. I was very much inspired by Books with Emily Fox for doing this tag. It's called the 50 Rapid Fire Book Questions tag. I'll leave the original creator and the questions downstairs in the description, so please check them out. So, let's see how quickly we can answer these. Hardback or paperback? I prefer, the floppy trade paperback is what we call them. It's the tall, floppy ones. And after that, the hardbacks. Dust jacket off or on? I take it off if I read it. Obviously on if I leave it on the shelf. Secondhand or new copies? Definitely new copies, but I think in a recent year or two, I have decided that there are some series that I am not necessarily want to hold on to, and I'm willing to buy them or look for them secondhand so I can read them and then pass them on again. Audiobooks or nah? Yeah, audiobooks. I have been absolutely enjoying audiobooks. I think once you get into them, you really get into them and you can't really stop, and it really does become like a natural way of reading. And I'm not even picking up physical copies of books as often now because audiobooks are so much more convenient. You can do stuff and listen to a book 2 in 1. Do you cover buy? Yes, all the time. If it doesn't have a good cover, I'm not interested, and I'm not even gonna go and look up the synopsis. So it is possible I'm missing out on amazing books that would be my favorites, but if people or the publishers weren't putting enough money into the cover, I'm not interested. What's a good book with a bad cover? It's a bit of a throwback, I think. I'm gonna go with The Fallen Star by Jessica Sorensen. It's a very classic YA paranormal romance. It's probably not what many people would read these days, but when I read it, I think it's a 4-book series. I flied through them and I absolutely loved them. So, and the second choice is the Angels series by L.A. Weatherly. It's also the same paranormal romance. There's a girl, she has 2 boys that she has to choose between, but the covers are just very uninspiring. But the contents, they leave you wanting more. You're constantly craving the next story, so you fly through the books, and they're thick ones. What's a bad book with a good cover? The recent ones that come to mind are We Rule the Night by Claire Eliza Bartlett. Stunning, very intriguing cover. Horrible book. And one from my past that I haven't spoken to you about at all is Tempest by Julie Cross. It's a really great premise for the series, but the book was just so underwhelming. I do own the rest of the series, so I'm wanting to finish it, but first book I ever read. I have a feeling that, obviously, my parents and my grandma would read to me, but the first book that I vividly remember just holding in my hands and reading, I have no memories until I'm 6 or 7, so anything in between that, if I read it, don't remember. But the one I do remember is Sword Quest by Andy Dixon. It's this weird book that's not really actually a book, it's more find things inside the pictures. There's a little bit of story to it, but I remember it just being so vivid and so fantastical, and I basically created my own narratives and I was just making stuff up in my head. It was such a fun book. I don't have it with me, it's still in my childhood home, but one day I'll definitely show you. Last book you finished? You Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. It was good, but the ending was disappointing. Last series I finished, it's the Don Tillman, The Rosie Project, Rosie Effect, Rosie Result series. It was okay. Last book you bought? Literally picked this up from work yesterday. I have zero idea what this is about, but I've heard amazing things about his first book. I think it's The Unlikely Escapes of Uriah Heep, and this just came in and I was like, yes. It's A Declaration of the Rights of Magicians by H.G. Parry. I have a feeling this is a standalone. What's your favorite genre? I always said fantasy, but I feel it's more towards science fiction now. Sci-fi gives me more that I'm interested in. I feel fantasy I just get lost these days in, and not in a good way. So sci-fi first, fantasy second. And the third one would be not your usual psychological thriller, but Shutter Island, The Cure for Wellness, Paradise Hills, kind of weird stuff. If you have any recommendations, please drop them in the comments. I've been looking for something like that for a long time. What's my favorite book in that genre? I think what's the most underrated book in the genre, and one of my favorites, is Alive by Scott Siegler. This was just incredible, high paced, but also really slow, very atmospheric. It makes you feel like you're there with the characters. You feel claustrophobic. You feel just, oh, it was such a great book, and I still can't believe that I haven't picked up the series, so maybe soon. What genres do you never reach for? I would say for me it's probably like classic fiction, like your classic, your Jane Austens, your Brontes, your, all the old classics, Moby Dick. I feel like the writing style and the storytelling back in the day was different, and I understand the value of them, but I don't think they add value to me, personally. Maybe I'll change my mind one day, but just staying away from those. And on the other hand, I don't usually pick up like historical non-fiction, so anything to do with history. I kind of want to remedy that. I would really like to find out more about like certain parts of history, especially partly with what is happening recently, but just generally. Obviously in school I was just learning pretty much the background of my own country, but now I just feel like it's very good time to just kind of go out and figure out more stuff about the world. Do you read poetry? Occasionally. I feel like it depends. I really need to connect to the words that are being told to me, that they can, like, they spark something in me. So I think I mentioned a few times that I love lyrics. So if a poetry is read like a song or like lyrics of some sort, I might be able to connect it to it more. Popular science? You see, I like sci-fi, but I don't necessarily read more scientific books. I don't actually remember reading a single one in the last 5 years. Middle grade? I feel like I have tried a few in the last few years. I do prefer picture books right now, and I feel like maybe when I have kids, I'll be picking up more 9 to 12, middle grade kind of level. But right now, I just feel like they're not hitting the right kind of level of storytelling that I'm looking for. Do you have BookBox subscriptions? I used to, not anymore. I just decided not to go down that route. I feel like it's a bit wasteful. I don't keep any of the items, mostly just the book. So what's my favorite bookish item? One thing that I'm very guilty of is collecting bookish pins. Any pins really, but bookish pins. I love bookish pins. I have like an entire collection. What's my current bookmark? As I've been mostly reading audiobooks, so they just stop wherever I stop. Otherwise, I just try to remember the number of the page that I stop at usually, which is really weird, but that works. What's the strangest item that I've used as a bookmark? Another book? So basically I would be reading a book and then I'll stop somewhere and I'll put another book in there. Is that weird? Book jackets or nah? I like naked paperbacks. I think I grew up with naked paperbacks, so the idea of having something around the cover was really strange to me for the first couple of years. But now I'm okay. I like a good cover, but doesn't matter. Either or. Who's your fictional boyfriend? Patch from the Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzpatrick. Forever and always would be my imaginary boyfriend. Patch is amazing. Favorite book couple? I don't think I have that. I don't really read for romance necessarily, so no one comes to mind. Favorite book villain? Again, no one comes to mind. I think it's just generally like when life doesn't work out for characters. I think that's like the Deus Ex Machina, but like against them. Favorite book adventure? I know we're like kind of not talking about it, but hands down, it has to be Harry Potter. I know there's a lot of nostalgic feelings behind it, but there was something about that world that really, really hooked me in, and it will always have a very dear place in my heart. I do not support anything that the author does. I think she's lost her mind. So, series, trilogies, or standalones? I would say standalones just because they are really confined to that one book, and it usually is very satisfying, and even though you want more from the world, you can usually think about it yourself, and that's the beauty of it. And if you're going to do a series, please do a series that is actually going to be 3 books. There's 3 separate stories, or an overarching arc, or there's more story to tell than just 2 books worth that you squeeze into 3. Mixed media books or paragraphs? I like normal books, normal structure. I don't mind a different kind of structure. Mixed media, I have read books in verse, so I think anything, as long as the storytelling is good. What's your favorite book adaptation? Every Day by David Levithan. I don't know if you've seen the Netflix adaptation, but it was 10 out of 10. It was amazing. It was such a beautiful movie. The book was good, but just I feel like the movie just really escalated it. Film adaptations or TV adaptations? I think TV, I have started preferring the TV because obviously it's a bit longer, so you really get to explore the narrative better. And you sometimes don't really need that big budget to make a really good TV show, whilst they put so much money into some movies and you think, oh my god, you could just not spend that money in the first place. What book needs an adaptation? Ooh. Maybe as like a sci-fi lover, as I will watch anything sci-fi, it's the Eve of Man series by Giovanna and Tom Fletcher. I think that would make a really cool movie. Like, there's so much visual stuff in that book that I would really want to see it come to life. I don't know if it will work better as a movie or a TV show. I don't want it to go down the same route as like Hunger Games or Divergent, where it's just like went down the hill really quickly, but you know. Favorite book world? Maybe the Book of Ancestors series by Mark Lawrence. I love that world. It's so dark, it's so grungy, it's like, oh, gritty. I'm really sorry if you hear any noises during this video. I didn't even realize there was something happening outside. You know when your brain just switches everything off and you can't focus? Favorite writing style? I don't like anything too flowery or too descriptive, but just straightforward, but just with enough detail to give you just a sense of the setting and people, but just not too overwritten. What's a book that you love that people don't know about? So there are two books that I want to mention. It's Faust by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, who is a German author, and this is more of a play, but has been published as a book in like 2 parts, but you can get a book full with like 2 parts in it. I love the story because it's all about how a man makes a deal with the devil and shenanigans ensue from that, and it's always stuck with me throughout my entire life, so that's one. And the other one is Tim Thaler, or The Boy Who Sold His Laughter by James Kruse. I think that's maybe how to pronounce it, also by a German author. Who would have thought? I read this as a child, between ages of like 8 and 12 maybe. It was such a fun read. I think it is a kid's book. It was translated, but not into English, I don't know why. It's similar idea where basically this boy trades his laughter for something, I don't remember, I think luck from the devil, so he makes a trade with the devil. You see there's a theme. It's such a fun read, and there's apparently a movie out that came out a couple of years ago, made in Germany. I really want to watch that. I have such fond memories of reading that book. What's a popular book that I hated? I don't know if I've spoken about it, but obviously I read Mythos by Stephen Fry, which is an amazing kind of recollection of all the Greek myths, but his second follow-up, which was Heroes, was just atrocious. He just really did not put any effort into it. Even though I know he probably did. It came across really sloppy and really like just not fun to read, so I really disliked that. Favorite childhood reads? I remember really vividly reading the Spiderwick Chronicles by Holly Black and Jodie Terlizzi. That's how I always pronounce it, but maybe it's wrong. It's such an amazing series. It's so whimsical, it's so short, but it really packs a punch, and can't recommend it enough. What's a book that changed your life? When I was 16, I read Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, and since then it has been and will always probably be my favorite book of all time. I just love the way Oscar Wilde wrote that story and the complexities behind it, the idea of beauty and love and like narcissism, and I feel like Dorian is such a wonderful character. All the adaptations have been so bad, especially like it makes me really sad like Ben Barnes played Dorian Gray in one of the adaptations and it was not great. It really breaks my heart. What book did you hate at school? I think, if I remember correctly, it's Black Beauty. I don't remember who's the author, but there's just something about reading from animals' perspective. There's a difference. I loved Animal Farm, but this was just like not that. Do you buy to collect? Yes, I'm a book collector. It's really sad to admit, but it's such a difficult hobby because I'm running out of space to put my books, and I love books. Do you donate books? Yes, I do donate. I usually, if I don't want something anymore, I ask my friends if they want it. I take it to charity shops, or I try to sell them online if they're in really good condition. So yes, try not to waste them. What's your favorite reading snack? I don't have one. I don't usually eat when I read, and if I do eat, I usually take a break to eat and then read. What's your favorite reading position? Just sitting up? I find if I lean or lay down, like half of my body starts hurting and then I can't read, or my arm dies and I can't swipe. So yeah, just sitting down somewhere in a corner is really nice. Natural light or lamplight? Natural. I really hate yellow light reading. It just makes the pages yellow, so yeah, natural light is perfect. Outside or inside? Inside. Always inside. Breaking the cover, keeping it smooth. What kind of sociopaths break the cover? Always keep my books pristine, even if I read them. They have to be almost untouched. Do you read in other languages? Yes, and I have. Not recently, but I have in the past. What book series do you want to finish this year? Like all of them? The ones that I've started, the ones I haven't started, like there's so many series that I need to read. What book release are you most excited for? I've mentioned quite a few in my mid-year book recap tag, so have a look there. But I think out of those, V. Schwab's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I'm just like dying for it. I need that book. Do you have a favorite book influencer? There's so many people that I love watching, and I think the top 3 would probably be Books and Lala, Books with Emily Fox, and Murphy Napier. They're just my favorite people. So funny, so relatable, but also so creative in what they do. Strive to be anyway even close to what they are like. And the final question, do I have a channel, a blog, or social media? You know they're all linked in the description. You're also watching me on my YouTube channel. I do have a gaming channel. I do have a Twitch. I have been spending more time on there than actually reading recently, so maybe that's why when you see my reading wrap up, I'll only have a few books to talk about. But thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this tag. Please feel free to do it yourself. I don't know who to tag. I don't know many people who haven't done it yet. So like, comment, subscribe, do what you feel like. It's a free world. Thank you. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!